Hello and welcome to my 40k beta Adeptus Custodes rules review of the Coronas Grav-carrier. I have already done a review of this tank for Horus Heresy, thanks to the Inferno book that Forge World released last year, but I just wanted to do a rules review for 40k now that they've released the beta rules. I think this model from Forge World is about £110 or so. It's a fair bit of money, definitely a lot more money than buying like a £45 Land Raider. You know, you could buy two Land Raiders for this and almost a box of Custodian Guard too. So yeah, it is pricey. It's an expensive model. It's Forge World, it's resin. However, go and check my full review of this one because I go through size comparisons, its weapons. You can open the back door to it as well, which is very nice. This one, by the way, is nowhere near finished painted. I've just only put a base coat on, put a bit of shade on. Haven't, as you can see, that's the difference in the gold look. Haven't even shaded that or put a magnet in there. Haven't shaded the metal. Well, that's only one coat. You can see a bit of gold coming through if you look closely. Haven't shaded the red either, but I thought I'd just put it on here right now as part of this rules review. So Games Workshop released these 40k beta rules for the model. It will cost you power points cost of a 19 and a match play points cost of 285 points, plus its weapons, which is the Arachnus Las Blaze, which is 60 points, and a twin Lastrum bolt cannon. Bolt cannon is 25, so that's 85, 370 points. That's a huge amount of points for one model, 370 points for this thing. Okay, so power points of 19, that's quite costly too. It's not as costly as a Land Raider though. The Land Raider will cost you power points cost of a 21, but in points cost, in match play, Land Raider will cost you 350 points. This Coronas Grav-carrier will cost you 370 points. So it's costing you 20 points more than the Land Raider, but it's cheaper in power points cost. So if you're playing any games, definitely use the power points in this regard. So is it worth the extra points in match play? Let's break it down. And I will be comparing it to the Land Raider throughout all of this. So it's one of those units where its characteristics change as it suffers damage during the battle. So when it's got between 9 and 18 wounds, yes, it does have 18 wounds, Land Raider's got 16, its movement speed is 14 inches. So that's 4 inches more than the Land Raider. Ballistic skill is 2+, that's the same as the Land Raider, and it's got 3 attacks. The Land Raider has 6 attacks. If its wounds are between 5 and 8, its movement drops to 10 inches, which is the same as the Land Raider. Ballistic skill drops down to 3+, and its attacks are down to D3. And when it's got between 1 and 4, its movement drops down to 6 inches, which is still twice the speed of the Land Raider at this point. Its ballistic skill drops down to 4+, and it only has 1 attack. That stat line is the same as the Land Raider, obviously except for the movement speed. Its other characteristics, its weapon skill is 6+. It's got a strength of 6, which is actually 2 less than the Land Raider. Land Raider strength 8. It's got toughness 8 though, which is the same. More wounds than the Land Raider, 18. Leadership 9, the same, but its save is only 3+. It's not as good save as the Land Raider itself. It's a single model. It's a heavy support choice, same as the Land Raider, which is great. It gives Custodian Guard their second heavy support choice. Would be nice to see some more, but as we've already seen with the beta rules, the Custodes Grav tank is in the fast attack choice, which is an excellent decision in my opinion. It's equipped with twin Arachnus Las Blaze and twin Lastrum bolt cannons. If you play Horus Heresy or you've got the 30k book Inferno, you'll know that they're pretty decent weapons. They have this heliothermic detonation kind of special rule or ability attached to them. You can only include one of these per detachment in your army, so a bit of a limit there. Now its weapons, its main weapon on the top isn't like a las cannon or anything like that. It's only like a kind of medium support weapon in my opinion, but it's called the twin Arachnus Las Blaze, and when you fire it you select one of the 2 profiles. You can fire it as beam mode, which is 36-inch range, heavy 2, strength 9, AP -3 and damage D6. That's pretty decent. You know, you get your 2 shots, a high strength of a 9 and an AP, really decent AP of -3, but you get a random damage outcome. But at movement 14 inches, you've got an effective range there of 50 inches, which is pretty amazing for this thing. The other mode is burst mode. So this is 24 inches, so effective range of 38. It's heavy D6 this time though, so instead of your guaranteed 2 shots, you could only get 1 shot with it. So bear that in mind. That drops the strength down to 5, its AP drops it down to -1, and its damage is D3. So depending on the circumstances, I'd rather go for further range, much better damage, you know, go from strength 5 to strength 9, way better AP, way better damage, and have a guaranteed 2 shots. It depends on the circumstances though. It's just you don't want to get to a stage where you've fired it within 24 inches and you're expecting to get 6 amazing shots with the thing and you only get, you know, 1 or 2, which the enemy will probably get saves and they'll probably be able to save from it. The little weapon at the bottom here, this twin Lastrum bolt cannon, more of a support weapon too. However, it's got a 36-inch range and it's heavy 6, so none of this heavy D6 malarkey. That means that the vehicle has an effective range again of 50 inches with this little support weapon at the bottom. Guaranteed 6 shots at strength 6, so even better than the Twin Arachnus Las Blaze. AP's -2, again better, but you're only getting a damage 1. I think that's a better trade-off. I really do. However, if you were lucky with the Arachnus Las Blaze, you could be pumping out 12 shots in one sitting. 6 of strength 5 and 6 of strength 6. So 12 shots, pretty decent. Its abilities then, why is it more expensive match play points wise than the Land Raider? Because the Land Raider's got it's got the twin heavy bolter, which is 6 shots now anyway. And it's got the heavy 2-shot twin las cannon, and it's got 2 twin las cannons, so it's pumping out 4 shots at a further range, very high strength, strength 9, whereas a twin Arachnus Blaze is you're only getting 2. So it's a shorter range las cannon, and you're only getting the 2 shots, so you're getting less shots than the Venerable Land Raider, but it's costing you less power points. So onto the abilities. It's a hover tank, so instead of measuring distances from the model's base, you measure to and from the model's hull or base, whichever's closest. Gravitic backwash. Models attempting to make melee attacks against this unit suffer -1 to all hit rolls, to a maximum of 6+. So that's pretty good, gives you a bit of extra protection in combat if things want to charge it. Flare shielding. This model has a 6+ invulnerable save. This is one of my biggest gripes. Flare shields are very decent in 30k, but for some reason they've brought over flare shields into 40k and they're just crap. I would have rather had something else, made up a name or something, because at this point in time you've got the little Contemptor Dreadnought over there that has a 5+ invulnerable. You've got Custodians walking around getting 5+, 4+, and then you've got this thing now only getting a 6+. I mean, it's nice that it does get an invulnerable save, much like the Caladius, but I think a better invulnerable save would have made it more of a must-buy, because it's losing out on the Land Raider with its 3+ save and not a 2+. Enhanced Auramite alloys. Roll a d6 each time the model loses a wound, and on a 6, the damage is ignored and that wound is lost. Okay, it's made a bit more ground up by being able to ignore wounds then, a bit like the Contemptor Dreadnought. But I think it's a bit meh, it's a bit wishy-washy. It's a heavy support choice, but it's just got a 3+ save, a 6+ invulnerable, but it can ignore wounds. There's a couple of nice things in there, but not the best. Gravitic Cascade. If the model is reduced to 0 wounds, you roll a d6 before removing it from the battlefield, and on a 5 or 6 it explodes, and each unit within 6 inches suffers d3 mortal wounds. Very similar to the explodes result that normal vehicles have, where it's a 5 or 6 rather than the 6, and also instead of the d6 mortal wounds, there's less of them. So there's a higher chance of, but when it does, models aren't going to suffer as many mortal wounds from it. Further war gear options and tanks will be available alongside this unit's rules in a future Imperial Armour volume. there you go. So there's, you know, there's potential there of adding more weapons to the thing, different war gear, all the rest of it. It is a transport, even though it's heavy support choice, and it can include 6 Adeptus Custodes infantry models. So yes, you can have your 6 Wardens in there, your 6 Alaris Terminators, you name it. You can have 6 Custodes. I think it's a fantastic way of transporting quickly your Wardens about the battlefield, getting them in close. The keywords are Imperium, Adeptus Custodes, Vehicle, Transport, Fly, Coronas Grav-carrier. So there you go. That's the beta rules for the Coronas Grav-carrier. No doubt they'll change, no doubt they'll add things, tweak things a little bit. Comparing it to a Venerable Land Raider, the Venerable Land Raider is cheaper. Only by a little bit, only by the 20 points, but you do get a 2+ save, you do get the same toughness, you get a couple of wounds less with the Venerable Land Raider, and you do get a slower movement speed. You can ignore wounds with the Land Raider too, because it's Unyielding Ancient, which is just a different way of saying enhanced Auramite alloys. They're the same thing. And the Land Raider can still transport 5 Custodian Guard models, so it can still transport your squad of 3 Guard or 3 Wardens, the Shield Captain and a Vexilis Praetor. So that's almost your whole army in one vehicle. I'd like to have a look at how many points those 4 units would cost together, but that's for another time, I think. So super, why would you get one instead of the Land Raider? Well, the movement for one. In 2 turns you can cover 28 inches instead of just 20, so you're getting an extra 8 inches. It's got more wounds than the Land Raider. The Twin Lastron Bolt Cannon is better. It's got a better strength and a better AP. And the Arachnus Las Blaze, although it's not as good as the Twin Las Cannon, in its beam mode, it does have a burst mode which has the potential of having up to 6 shots. I would have liked them to stuck with having heavy 6 instead of heavy D6, and maybe having damage D3, but there we go. The weapons are quite situational, you know, with the Land Raider you're getting the 4 48-inch shots, and you've got the power of the Machine Spirit to go with that. This one isn't heavily as armed, in my opinion. It's better suited at lighter infantry work rather than other armour. Venerable Land Raider is still the best anti-armour option, you know, long range, than the Virtus Praetors with the salvo launchers. It's nice that it's got an invulnerable save, which is a bit of a one-up from the Venerable Land Raider, and it's also nice that it can ignore the damage on a 6. That sort of helps it, the fact that it's only got a 3+ save. Yes, it's got more wounds, but I'd always go for a better save over a couple more wounds. Ignoring the wounds definitely helps its survivability. I do like that it's got an invulnerable save that it can use as well. It sort of needs it to counteract that 3+ standard save. It's nice that it can carry 6, but in a way that's just more eggs in the basket. It's just more expensive models in one place. So I think 5 is absolutely fine. You could go completely crazy and have 6 Wardens in it, but I think that's an expensive way to go. But with 18 wounds, an invulnerable save, it can ignore wounds, and even a normal 3+ save, if it doesn't get to your opponent's side of the battlefield, you've definitely done something wrong, in my opinion, because it should last that long. And then when it's there, it can cause havoc with its weapons, and it's got a bit of an anti sort of assault ability with that gravitic backwash. Anyway, really interested to hear your thoughts on this model. I don't think it's a clear-cut unit in the game, not like the Achilles Dreadnought or the Virtus Praetors or the Wardens. I don't think it's a clear, yes, I must get that unit and it's going to perform this role and it's going to perform it incredibly well. I think it is a bit wishy-washy, but hey, it's beta rules. Definitely interested to hear what your thoughts and opinions are on it. Do you have one? Have you used it? How did it perform? What did you put in it? Please do put your comments below. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor protects.